I want to look again at the state of the 2020 race and kind of update this. It's going down to 5 states, basically, to look at. Because as we go through here, we still have guaranteed states like so. And these are all guaranteed blue, absolutely guaranteed, no matter what happens. I mean, Joe Biden could come out as that he's a pedophile. That does not matter. These states will still go blue, no matter what. And there they are. Those are the blue states, no matter what. These states, no matter what, are going red. Doesn't matter what Trump does. If Putin has some kind of pedophilia on Trump, it wouldn't matter. These states are still going red. All of these and these and these would all stay red no matter what happens, including these and that, and Indiana and South Carolina. All right, most of these are still going to go red or blue. It's still pretty much guaranteed. DC as well, by the way. It's still pretty darn sure. Alaska, Texas, regardless of what people say, Texas is going to stay red, I guarantee it. Missouri, Iowa, Ohio, and then when it comes to likely blue, these are staying blue. It's guaranteed. It's nearly guaranteed. Virginia, Minnesota, New Hampshire, and most of Maine. Most of Maine except for the northern rural part. These are all guaranteed. Now, there are a lot of states, all of these, which people are saying right now are looking like this. This is what the polls are saying. This is what the polls are saying, which would be an absolute blowout. I don't think this is going to happen in the real world. I think the only one of these that's pretty much for sure are those. I really do think Pennsylvania and Michigan are actually likely to flip, as I've said before. And so it really comes down to these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 states. But I have a feeling between voter suppression or what have you, between just low voter turnout, I really think this is pretty much likely red as well. And actually, I think Arizona is close too. And I'll show you why. Here's Arizona's trend line since March. As you can see, Trump was ahead in the polls, and then Biden flipped right around the time the coronavirus got to be a thing. And so we have this situation where Biden's ahead in the polls, but it's only by this little bit. I still think it's very unlikely Arizona's going to flip. It's really like Phoenix is the only one that's looking blue right now. And so there's a lot more Arizona than just Phoenix. So here's what we're looking at. Honestly, Arizona, not too worried about it. These are the big four, and these are the ones that will decide the election. Now, historically, I've figured it looks kind of like this. And as you can see, if this flips here, that one district in Maine, that's how we got the tie back in the day, which is very likely. However, I'm not really going to use the lean category here because I just don't think it's that definitive. I just don't. I think it's like that, and they're really toss-ups. But here's the thing. We'll look through the polls. These four, Arizona as well. Arizona's kind of looking like that, but I just really think it's like that. I think it's likely. It's like Texas. They talk about Texas and Georgia and Arizona. I don't think Biden should waste his time on those. I think it's really these three because, as you can see, 268, he only needs 2 votes. If he got all of this, if he got that part of Maine, and if he got Oregon and stuff that's pretty much sure, and Pennsylvania, Michigan, I mean, sure, this is really like this, and this is kind of like this. I just think this is likely, just like how I think these are likely. So really, I want to look at these three. These are the battleground states. Let's look at how North Carolina's been. North Carolina's been a red state for a while, but it did go to Obama in 2008. And so you look here, Biden was polling ahead. There was this time in April where they were pretty much tied, and then Biden is slightly ahead. Here's the thing, like Charlotte and the big cities, especially with the racial protests and riots going on, there's going to be a lot of people coming out for Biden because of that reason. Biden also has been able to really draw in a lot of people from the South through the primaries. However, I still feel like this kind of polling, you look at this, look how close it is. In the real world, when it comes down to it, I think there's a polling bias toward Democrats. I think there's a really large silent Trump supporter population who do not tell pollsters that they're going to go for Trump because people don't like to admit that. There's the hardcore Trumpers who are very much in support of him, but there's a lot of Trump voters who Don't want to be identified with that. So when I see this, this is leaning Trump to me, even though Biden's ahead. So I'm going to put this like so. I'm going to tilt that into there. Now we have these three. Let's jump into Wisconsin. This is the interesting trend here. It's been tied through the polls, but they got this big split once the coronavirus became a problem, and a lot of people turned against Trump. And this is legitimate difference. Look, this is an average of many, many polls. This is real. And so if the election were held today, this is enough disparity for me to say this is actually right now leaning this way. Even though I've been thinking Wisconsin is going to go red, like just look at the polls. This is real data. This isn't like that. That's a tie. This is real data. So that's where we're going to put that in that category. Biden already won. Biden already won because he got these three. But let's keep going. These two. Florida, I've been leaning in the red column. And look at this. Now, this is fascinating because Florida has such a large retired population, and it has the Cuban population who have voted Republican their whole life. And then it has Miami, which votes, of course, very much blue. But I don't know. I've been thinking Florida is going to go red, but look at this. All of a sudden, it's split here in late June. Now, polling is biased, but this is real data. You can see how it's spread out here. I don't know. I feel like by the time the election rolls around, it's still going to go like that. But this is something to pay attention to. This polling trend is interesting per 538. And finally, we have Maine. Now, unfortunately, there's very little polling data for Maine. The only one in July that's been recent is this one, and it's statewide. So, of course, it's statewide. Look, statewide, there's 11-point spread. We know that because most of Maine is very much blue. It's New England. I'm talking about the rural north number 2 district. Like number 1 district, look. Last polling data was 2019, but you can see huge advantage to Biden. Unfortunately, the only data we have on District 2 is from 2019. I'm hoping there's more polls coming out of this region because it really is a toss-up, and I think it's leaning Biden. But as you look here, going back to 2019, it was barely leading Biden, barely. Now, a lot has changed since then. I actually think it is going to go like this. I do. And now if you look at what I used to think, which was the tie, 269, 269, you just look at the data, you can't argue with this. There's just no way to argue with that. As of right now, we're looking at this. And so if everything goes this way, and if everything goes this way, then suddenly we have a situation where, 269, that 10-point difference, if it had gone like this, would be a tie. Going like this, that's what we're looking at right now, a Biden win. So we'll see what happens.